What's up? Welcome back to Overtime Operators, the show where we teach you how to make money in sports. I'm John, that's Casey, and that is Daps. How you boys doing today?
Can't complain, man. Hey, my Niners won, so the world is right now.
Niners won, Daps. The Jets did win? Did they not win? No.
The Jets won.
The
Jets won
yes,
again.
against the Broncos, so that's good.
Brees Hall looked like a beast, 70-yard touchdown run.
There we go. Good things in both of your worlds. That's good. So let's get into some injuries and how they affect fantasy. So I'm just going to list them off because there's so many this week. Some big ones. So we got Justin Jefferson out with multiple games with a hamstring. Devon Achane, or Achan, however you say his name, out with multiple games with a knee, just as he's getting going. Anthony Richards also just as he's getting going, out with multiple games with a shoulder. James Conner out with multiple games as a knee, or out for multiple games with a knee. Travis Kelce questionable. He did come back after that ankle injury, but maybe when the adrenaline wore off, we'll see what happens. Deshaun Watson still questionable with a shoulder. Saquon Barkley questionable with an ankle. Austin Eckler questionable / probable with an ankle. And Aaron Rodgers optimistic to return this season with an Achilles. At first, people were saying no way he comes back this season. He says, don't put your limitations on my body. This is my body, my choice. And he thinks he might come back. I mean, we can start there if you want, Daps. Are you picking him up in fantasy at this point? Or are you like, no, I'm in. Let's do this. Aaron Rodgers back this season.
No, I'm not anywhere near Aaron Rodgers in fantasy. I was drafting him late in the second or third to last round in leagues this year because I love the upside. I was high on Garrett Wilson, early second round pick. And my team, by the way, fourth most in the league, I took Garrett Wilson with my second pick. So kicking myself for that one now. But also, if Rodgers was playing, man, I don't know who could argue, even in this group chat right now, who couldn't the Jets beat with Aaron Rodgers? And I'm not saying they can't. I'm not saying they'd go undefeated. I'm saying any given Sunday, any team in the league right now, if the Jets had Aaron Rodgers and the Jets defense and Brees Hall on the ground, you don't think the Jets could beat any team in the league?
It's a strange argument because any given Sunday, any team can beat any team. But
all but one.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think that that's who the Jets. That's what they built, right? It's like it's all there. We just need that guy. Yeah, I mean the Niners look really well, look really good. The Eagles, we don't know what they look like against Test yet, right? So those would be the teams that would be the question marks, I think. Okay, a couple guys here that rosters might be built around. Let's talk about this. So my roster is just riddled. I have Deshaun Watson, Anthony Richardson, and Travis Kelce all on my roster, all of which are either questionable or out. I'm in a super flex with Deshaun Watson, Anthony Richardson, and another quarterback. I can't even remember who my other quarterback is.
Jesus.
It's Jared Goff. That's who my other quarterback is. What do I need to look for, right? Because I'm really in a super flex. I probably should be replacing with a quarterback. Casey, where should I be looking if I'm sitting on Deshaun and Anthony Richardson right now and unsure? Let's say Deshaun isn't going to play, and I probably want to play another quarterback, assuming I don't have like some superstar running back sitting on the bench.
Well, I think first of all, you need to thank your lucky stars for having Jared Goff, because that's kind of a pleasant surprise. I know you were kind of lower on him.
Anthony Richardson, also a pretty pleasant surprise, honestly.
Well, not really, because how much has he even played, right? I think collectively he's played maybe like 10 quarters of football, not even.
When he's played, a very pleasant surprise because he does so much on his legs, but that's also why he's hurt.
Yeah, in a keeper league, I think you got to hold on to him for that upside for future weeks, especially if you got him late in a draft.
He's got those Lamar Jackson vibes, where it's like, he's going to do a lot on his legs, and that's going to be good for fantasy. May not be good for him in actual real life, but good for fantasy.
He's just going to miss too much time now, though. You can't rely on him. He's going to be gone. I think the report was, I think he's going to go on the IR. So that's a minimum of 4 weeks.
So do I pick up Gardner Minshew at this point? I mean, he's not
Minshew is a viable guy. They're going to throw a ton more with Minshew than they would with Richardson, just knowing that they can kind of rely on the veteran leadership there.
JT back out of the backfield to catch passes. Yep.
Yeah, catch passes. Also kind of set the tone on the ground. Zach Moss actually incredibly setting the tone pretty well, but I don't think that's something that's super sustainable given his talent. JT, you can rely on it, I think, and that's going to spell good news for Minshew. A lot more scoring potential on a lot of those drives. So Gardner would be the guy. I mean, there's probably
is that what you think?
Too many people.
take the backup.
available.
You don't nobody else on your mind who I should slot in there.
Well, it's not a bad move. He's probably the most regularly available guy.
Yeah.
And it's going to work well because if Richardson does come back and you want to roll the dice that he'll stay healthy for a game, you can pivot back and forth from those two. It's the perfect replacement for one another.
Mhm.
So it fits at least, right? And he's probably available. If any other starting QB is available, I mean, some leagues still have guys like a Baker or a lot of people thought Brock Purdy wouldn't be rostered a ton, but obviously if he's out there,
pretty
get him.
rostered at this point.
In Superflex leagues, I mean, any starting quarterback, go get him. Josh Dobbs, doesn't matter.
At this point, there's just not a lot of starting quarterbacks left in Superflex leagues, depending on how many people you have. But no, I get it. Or maybe just try and have I don't know. I don't really have it on the bench. Luckily, I did draft Cooper Kupp late, and so that slots in for he slotted in for great points this week, honestly. So
yeah. Honestly, look at other positions too, because like I said, quarterbacks probably won't be available. So
it might be the move. Quarterbacks get the most touches. I usually like to have them in that super flex spot, unless I can find someone else who's going to get high touches. But all right, now let's talk about a couple other guys who rosters could be built around. Specifically, Justin Jefferson and Travis Kelce are the two that really stick out to me as guys who are either questionable or out for a minute. What do you do I mean, is it even like if your roster is built around them, is it just like, yep, it's gonna be a tough couple weeks, or are there people who are having breakout seasons, or that you could take a tough bet on that are maybe a little underperforming at this point but might perform better, that you think hey, target them in a trade? Maybe their current owner is frustrated with them and would let them go for low value. What are you thinking if your roster is built around one of those two guys?
Both of these guys are guys I spent first round picks on, respectively, in a couple of leagues. Justin Jefferson, it feels weird to say, but luckily we at least have some clarity on the situation. He is going to miss 4 weeks minimum. He's going to the IR, even though I don't think they've officially done it yet, unless they did that today.
One of those weeks, their bye week.
Doesn't matter. He'll have to miss 4 games. So IR is game based, not week based. So I mean, you can look at guys like Jordan Addison. He's probably rostered, but his value should increase. I think the Vikings have come out and said that KJ Osborne will take over JJ's role, but I don't think he'll replace.
No, he won't. Just to be clear, no, he won't.
But the position,
he'll get more. He'll eat up more targets, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I think most of the production will go to Addison, though. That'd be my bet. So I'm high on
Hawkinson.
Addison.
I can see Hawkinson eating up some targets, but he's going to be already rostered probably.
For sure. Hawkinson's going to be a slam dunk from here on out, I think. Just because, he's one of the better receivers at tight end left, and he's going to get a lot of targets. And then with Travis Kelce, he's one of those guys. He shouldn't miss too much time, hopefully. And if he plays, you start him. And if he doesn't, you take a flyer. Guys like Logan Thomas are showing out. You might have missed him on waivers already, but I think you take a prayer at tight end, bet on a touchdown, and just hope they provide for you, man. And then when Travis Kelce comes back, even if he's 50%, you play that, man.
You play him. Yeah. All right, Daps. You've been wheeling and dealing. You've been doing a lot of moves in fantasy. What are your favorite moves that you're making right now? Who are you moving on from? Who are you moving on to? Into? Who are you moving toward?
Well, I'll give some context because this particular trade, I don't know if everybody's going to be able to do this one, but this one league I have is a 2 quarterback league.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So,
is it a hard 2 quarterback?
Right. So it's not a super flex. It's a hard 2, and it's also a keeper league. And the way that this league is very interesting in that you either go for it or you punt a year, right?
Oh,
and if you punt a year, you're basically trying to acquire as many picks for your big year. So oddly enough, this year there's like 8 to 9 teams that are still in the mix, where usually it's like 3 teams or 4 teams are in the mix, and then 6 or 7 fringe teams that like you might get lucky and somehow beat somebody. So going into the year, I'm thinking I'm about to punt this, but I had Justin Herbert as a 6th round keeper. So I'm going, okay, I draft Achane, I draft Mostert, I draft Brian Robinson, all with like 9, 10, 11, 12th round picks. And the trade I just made was I traded my 1, 3, 5 pick next year. My 1st, 3rd, and 5th round pick next year. 1st round for Bijan, 3rd round for Tua, who I can keep as a 3rd round pick next year, and 5th round for Ayuk. So now my team is looking like Herbert and Tua, QB 7 and 6, By the way, Herbert's 7, but he just had a bye. He was QB2 before the bye. I have Mike Evans and Ayuk. So my receivers are a little thin. I have Christian Watson on the bench right now. But then my running backs were Mostert or Achane. So Achane's down, but now I got Mostert, who, by the way, is ranked 11 in fantasy for anybody who doesn't understand how good Mostert is. So now I have Mostert and Bijan, which are RB3 and RB8 in the league. I just traded Logan Thomas, who I picked up, and a 6th-round pick next year for Sammy Laporta and a 10th-round pick in exchange. So now I got tight end 4, and then my flex this week is Jerome Ford. It could be either Ford, Watson, Brian Robinson, Kareem Hunt, and I just picked up KJ Osborne, who we were just talking about. So the interesting speculation they're making around Justin Jefferson, by the way, is that the Vikings are currently 1-4. If they don't win while he's out, why would he be in any rush to return? And also, he's a free agent at the end of the year, and they didn't give him a deal that he wanted. And listen, Kirk Cousins, I'm not a Kirk Cousins hater. I think the guy's legit. I would be happy to have him on the Jets in our current situation. But with that being said, the amount of hate that he gets for his statistics are ridiculous. This guy has the 2nd most touchdowns in the league right now, and the most yards, or 2nd in yards and most touchdowns. So, what do you want from him? What do you want from the guys? Like that top 2 in yards and touchdown passes, and you're talking smack about him? That's ridiculous, right? Like, you cannot talk negatively about a quarterback with those 2 stats, top 2 and top 1. That's crazy. So, but in Justin Jefferson's position, he's going long-term. I'm 24 years old, however old I am. Is Kirk Cousins really going to be my quarterback? Probably not. Imagine Jefferson goes, listen, I'm going to get paid, and I'm going to go to a team. I'm going to go play with one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I'm going to go play with Patrick Mahomes next year. I'm going to go play with Tua. I'm going to go play with Justin Herbert.
Brock Purdy.
Like, Brock Purdy, sure. So listen, I mean, it's very interesting. If I'm Justin Jefferson, I'm definitely thinking about my health. It's wild to me. The Vikings are at where they're at. Interesting stat. Again, Vikings are 1-4, but if you go over their games, they lost week 1 to the Buccaneers by 3. Yep. They lost week 2 to the Eagles by 6. They lost week 3 to the Chargers by 4. They beat Carolina, and then they lost last week to the best team in the league, the Chiefs, by 7. So, yeah, the Vikings could easily be 4-1 right now.
I would have expected them to be 2-3 at this point, right? So I would have expected a losing record out of the Vikings at this point.
It seems like it's random, but that's expectable for the Vikings. I mean, I think it was 2 years ago. It was the same kind of deal. They were something terrible record at the beginning of the year, like 1 and something crazy like 5, and every one of their losses was a 1 possession, 1 score loss. And that's what they're doing this year.
And then last year it was a bunch of one possession wins, right? Like they're a 1 possession team. So yeah, I mean, fantasy moves, I think, around those those injuries, very interesting. Devon Achane, definitely an interesting one. If you had him, Casey, you spent basically a last pick in the draft on him, and so really, it's like he was a flyer anyway. Him being out probably doesn't hurt you too bad. Doesn't help, of course, but probably doesn't hurt you too bad.
In your deep leagues, deep bench leagues, hold on to him and hope that he's back sooner rather than later. I think he's also going to the IR if he hasn't already. In keeper leagues, I mean, I'm stashing him even if he's out all year. I know for a fact in my main keeper league, I got him in the 13th round. Being able to keep him next year in the 13th, assuming he'll probably take over the backfield. That's my outlook on it. That's going to be a smash keeper for me. So that's how I look at HN. It is devastating though, because I had him in almost every single league, and man, the boy was winning me weeks. So
yeah, I a couple other guys that I want to. I mean, I think JJ and Travis Kelce, definitely guys that first round picks, smash first round picks for a lot of people, gone in most leagues in the first round. A couple other guys who were high and are currently questionable: Austin Eckler, Saquon Barkley. What are you doing if those are a key piece of your roster at this point in time?
I think Austin Eckler, I think, is coming back this week.
He
So
is
that
gonna
should
be
actually be
okay.
something nice for people. I think he's probable is kind of what I've seen. So Eckler manager should be very happy. Barkley, I mean, it's the same thing. Obviously, you're scraping together whatever you can at running back and
Yeah.
praying he gets healthy, and then you're plugging him back in. He's one of those
Yeah.
guys.
And kicking yourself for not, using the last round on HN. I guess he's injured anyway too, but
Unless you're in a position like Daps was pointing out earlier, where you're kind of selling, you're seller mode. If you're in a league like him, where a lot more people are in the mix than they expected to be, that means there's a lot of buyers. So maybe you can drive up a price on a guy like that who's coming back. If you're out of contention, because some of these injuries might have already kind of taken you out of contention. So
yeah,
that is what it is.
Okay, let's move on to some week 6 betting. A little bit different format here. Casey, did you want to pull up our betting tracker? And a little bit different format here. What we're gonna do is, instead of saying which ones we're in on, which ones we're out on, we're just gonna go through every game and say, look, if we had to bet, this is the way we would go on it. I guess we could sort of informally say, like, yeah, I wouldn't bet this one, but if I had to, this is the way I would go. And then we can say which ones like we would actually bet as well. But the format is just saying what way we would go. Yeah.
We have, you can bet against the spread, money line, added the over and under here because we were kind of neglecting that in past weeks. So just a lot of ways to bet on games. Let's see how we fall on these ones, gentlemen.
Yep. All right. So starting with Broncos Chiefs, Chiefs 10.5 point favorites. Money line here is, hold on, let me pull it up so I can see it a little bit better. Money line here is plus 430 and plus 430 for the Broncos, minus 600 for the Chiefs. Which way would you go on this if you had to bet it, Casey?
I'm leaning Chiefs beating that spread. Broncos probably the worst team in the league, or looking like it. I'm starting to suspect Sean Payton kind of knew this was going to happen and was doing some kind of tank job. I think he's fine throwing Russ under the bus, and he wants a high draft pick probably. So he can get himself a QB of the future and start over again next year. I just don't believe Sean Payton could be this bad of a head coach to lose games like this. So Chiefs by 20 probably if I had to.
If I had, would you bet this one or no?
Maybe, borderline. But yeah,
I think this is a borderline. You might.
I think I would.
You might throw a little bit of your budget at it, type of thing. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. If I did have budget, we've played bet 100 before. If I had, I'd throw $5 or $10 at this one, 10% of my budget at this one, and it would also be on the spread. I don't like the money line just because it's a minus 600, right? So it's like, I guess if you just throw a couple bucks on it, it's no big deal. But then it's just going to be no big deal if you win. So why even do it? Just bet the spread. Be a man. What do you think here, Daps?
I'm not touching it.
You wouldn't touch it, huh?
The Chiefs should
10.5 points. 10.5 points is too much because they might just kind of call it. Like they might kind of run it out.
I've the same thing is going on with the Broncos. Besides the blowout that they had to endure, the 50-point blowout. I mean, the Broncos have a really weird season as well, and we'll go over this real quick. The Broncos, remember, I know everyone's going to go, the Broncos got blown out by, the Dolphins by 70 points to 20, right? But week 1, they lost to the Raiders by 1 point. Week 2, they lost to the Commanders by 2 points. Then they get blown out. Then they win by 3. And then they lose to the Jets by 10. And by the way, they easily could have beat the Jets. So
that was a weird turn of events that led to that 10-point loss for sure. But
the Broncos are another team that could easily be 3-2 with a couple plays or decisions that were made, the opposite way. And now they're in a much different position.
Look, by no means should they beat the Chiefs, but a 10.5 point spread, I can see why you're worried. You wouldn't touch it if you had to bet it. Where would you go?
If I had to bet it, I would. My rule typically is if I don't know, I take the points, right?
Okay.
But the reason I wouldn't bet it is I don't like betting against Patrick Mahomes. So I have no interest in doing that.
You bet the under or the over?
On 47.5.
On 47.5, I'm going over. I'm going Chiefs over every week just because the potential of Mahomes is ridiculous.
Okay, for the sake of the exercise, if we're forced to bet every game, which I think we're trying to do this week, I'll mark you down for that, but we'll put an asterisk saying you wouldn't have done it.
You would not have done it. I wouldn't have done it either, probably. I don't.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt, but I'll leave mine. John,
I'll put it this way: if it were like 8.5, if it were, or let's say if it were 9.5, so a touchdown and a field goal, I'd feel a lot better about it. At 10.5, that's where it's like, We're talking about 2 touchdowns or touchdown and 2 field goal. Like if they get up that much, they're just not going to have the urgency. They're going to be running it. I mean, Pacheco is a beast. He's looking really good, but I don't know. Just you don't know what they're going to do. Next up, Ravens Titans. Ravens 4-point favorites over the Titans. Money line on this is -205 for the Ravens, +170 for the Titans. Over under on the points is 41. Casey, would you touch this one? And if you had to touch it, how would you touch it?
This one is just one of those ones that feels kind of gross to me. I don't think I would touch it.
I wouldn't either. The Titans are too weird, man.
I think I would probably. I mean, this is not a high line for the points, but I'm tempted to go the under here. I don't know. What are you guys thinking?
I get what you mean though, because it's like
Titans stop the run pretty well, and that's what the Ravens do.
And the Titans run, yeah. And I don't know. Tanny's been passing to D Hop. He passed to D Hop really well last week. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I would go under on 41. Honestly, I think the Ravens are the better football team, but it's tough to bet on a team that just lost to the Steelers. Yet the Steelers are 3-2. So who am I talking about here? Give me the Titans and give me the points, I guess. I wouldn't touch this. But if I got to do something, give me the Titans and give me the points. Give me the 4 points. What do you think, Daps?
So just so we're clear here, we're just going to pick, right? We're not going to say I'm out of this game, right?
Yeah, well,
right,
I mean, we can say informally I wouldn't touch it, but we like the sake of the exercise is we have to bet every game. What would we do?
Right. So I will take the points and the under for sure.
Okay.
All right. Next up, what do we got next? We got Commanders Falcons. Falcons are 2.5-point favorites. Is that right? Yeah, Falcons 2.5-point favorites. Money line is +118 for the Commanders, -140 for the Falcons. Over under on this is 42.5 points. What do you like here, Casey?
Oh man, I'm betting everything first, huh? Is that how we're doing it?
Oh, is that? But okay, Daps, what do you like here?
I'm going to take the Falcons at home.
Yeah.
I think the Commanders have a really weak pass defense, letting up a lot of points. I like the home team. Commanders. Sam Howell has looked good briefly, and then he unravels. He throws picks that he doesn't need to throw either.
Yeah.
So the Commanders could, might have another win here or there if he didn't make those mistakes, and maybe he's just young and that's why he's making them. But he's got to fix that before making any bets on the Commanders.
I mean, he's a gunslinger. I kind of dig it in your first year. Just kind of be like free with it, and but by your second year, you got to get that stuff tightened up for sure. Casey, what do you think?
This game screams. I mean, any game that the Falcons play, they're basically chewing the clock the entire game.
Yeah.
So not a lot of plays usually run. The Commanders are not extremely efficient on offense with the new Eric Bieniemy offense. Not that they were before him.
Yeah.
So I
we talk about the Commanders, right? Like they've never been that good, that efficient.
Yeah, and I could see this just being one of those gross games. I don't know which way to go exactly. The Falcons I probably would pick, but against the points, I don't know. So I'm leaning towards the under again, honestly. It just feels like there's not that many possessions in this game, and 21 points is probably going to win the game. So both teams can't get 21. That hits the under to me, so
yeah,
that's how I see it.
I would not, I would not bet anything here, but if I had to bet something, I wouldn't bet either team. I just don't know who's going to win this. And I don't like 2.5 points enough to go with the Falcons on it. So I kind of also like the under. These are just both a couple kind of like ugly offensive teams that scrap out wins,
Here,
when they get wins.
I'm going to take these asterisks away. Let's just man up and do this. It's getting too complicated to track them. I don't want to ask you guys.
No, you don't. We don't need to do asterisks. We're
going to go nuts. We'll see how we like it this week. And after this week,
for the people who are listening, they can hear like what we actually think. But yeah, no, we're not.
Nobody's super passionate. It seems like on most of the bets.
I'll go on the next one because I am passionate about it. Give me 2.5 points in the Vikings against the Bears. I don't care if they don't have Justin Jefferson. I think they're a far better team than 1-4. I would expect them to be 2-3 at this point of the season. The Bucs loss is unfortunate, but I would have expected them to lose to the other teams. Those are three very, very good teams, in my opinion, that they've lost to, and it's been good games. I don't think the Bears are good, so I think Vikings over Bears in an NFC North matchup. I like them, and I like 2.5 points. I think they're getting those 2.5 points because they're 1-4, and it really should be probably 6.5 or 7.5 points. But yeah, I like the Vikings here, and this is actually on my betting list of things that I would bet on this week.
So the Vikings are favorites by 2.5 points here.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Just
Give
wanted to clear
me
that up.
the Vikings, and I don't care about the 2.5 points. They'll beat the spread.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm
A
going.
field goal. Yeah. Yeah. I like it. I think
I'm going to lean the
Go ahead.
other way on that one. I think the Bears finally putting it together. It's still very possible they blow this game, but if they can keep up what they've been doing the last few weeks, that DJ Moore from Justin Fields connection is starting to look real. I bet on it all preseason. High exposure to those guys. Didn't love what I saw in the first few weeks, but they're getting it together. So I'm going to go back in until they prove something else to me. And the Justin Jefferson probably is what the injury is.
Yeah,
probably
that sways you. I get you. I mean, I don't blame you, and I think that's why the 2.5 points there are sitting there. But I think it's just eyeballs, right? Like I watched them even after JJ came out, and it's like they still with the Chiefs are really hard to play, right? And they still were fine. They still ran their offense. I think give them the Bears and give Kurt an extra half second in the pocket, and things get a lot better.
Sure.
What do you think here, Daps?
I'm going to go Bears with the points. I like the momentum. Their two most recent games, their first half, they've basically went up 30 points to nothing in both games. They almost blew the lead twice, but this is 2 games in a row. Justin Fields has came out. Yeah, he's averaging like 300 yards the last 2 games. There's this incredible graphic that this Instagram account Pick Six puts out, and it goes player A, player B, and then it shows their statistics, touchdowns, completion percentage, and they're both silhouettes of 2 players, and then you slide. And there's a really, really interesting one where almost every stat lines up: touchdowns, yards are off 100, completion percentage is off by less than 5%, QBR is the same. The one quarterback has 1 more touchdown on the left, and the other guy has 1 less interception, and it's Fields and Mahomes in the silhouettes. So Fields is playing well. I'm rooting for him. I got way too much money invested in gold prisms sports cards to not be rooting for the Bears this week.
And he's playing for his job, right? Like this, it has to work out this year. Him and Eberflus. So
yeah. Yep. All right, let's move on. Next game, we got Seahawks at Bengals. Bengals are 2.5 point favorites. Money line is plus 130 on the Seahawks, minus 155 on the Bengals. Over under on this game is 45. I don't love the bet. The Bengals definitely looked so much. They look like that. Okay, maybe this is the turning point week. That's what they look like this last weekend. Am I ready to bet on it against the Seahawks, who I do think are pretty good? No, but I do like the over on 45 points. I definitely like that. So I'm going there. I wouldn't bet it, just to be clear, but if I had to bet something in this game, I would bet the over. I have 3 bets that I would actually make, and this isn't one of them. But if you're going to bet this game, I like the over on points.
I'm right there with you, John. I think that the Joe Burrow situation is starting to recover. That's nice.
He looked better.
And the Seahawks are a team that can put up points. Geno Smith, I know, has something nagging going on, but he should be okay for the game and everything. So I think this could end up being somewhat of a shootout. And
yeah, Bengals put up 28.
The defenses kind of show up one week and then kind of disappear another week. So
Bengals put up 28, pretty easy for this game to go over 45. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So yeah, what do you think here, Daps?
I hate both these teams right now. I think that because of the Bengals' momentum last week, and I think the Seahawks can run the ball, they can throw the ball. They've still got DK Metcalf. They still got Lockett. Kenneth Walker's an absolute monster, by the way. Bengals at home, I think their defense really came together last week. I was watching, and I thought, wow, if they keep this momentum, this is looking like the old Bengals. So.
Oh man, that was Seahawks. We didn't cut his feed. They're like, nah, dude, we don't like what you're talking about our team. We want you to talk us up.
Geno Smith, we'll come back.
He didn't write him back.
He didn't write him back. Yeah, we'll come back to this if Daps makes it back. It looks like he's having some technical difficulties. All right, next up, I'll let you go first on the Niners. Go ahead.
I'm not scared here, John. 49ers are 6.5 point favorites here against the Browns. Browns have a good pass rush with Myles Garrett. Overall, pretty good defense.
Yeah, I mean, so do the Cowboys with Micah Parsons. It didn't seem to matter.
That's how I feel about it. I'm taking the 49ers. I'm pretty ride or die at this point.
Yeah.
The first game I'm even questioning them is the Eagles, and that's still a few weeks away. So I'll take that by a touchdown. Give me the Niners all day.
So this is one of the 3 on my list that I'm actually going to bet this week. One of the 3 games. 46.5 points is not enough for the Browns, especially when Deshaun Watson is still questionable. He still hasn't. He did not practice today. So yeah, I mean, even if he plays, 6.5 points is enough points for the Browns. So I like them. I like the Niners to beat the spread at 6.5 points as well.
Right,
And I'm actually putting money on that one. That's one of the 2, or one of the 3.
Let's go, boy.
All right, next up we got Panthers at Dolphins. Dolphins 13.5 point favorites over the Panthers. Honestly, this is one of those weird ones where I'd like probably bet the money line at so the money line is plus 600 for the Panthers, minus 900 for the Dolphins, which is crazy that I'm saying I'm gonna bet the money line, but I just don't like 13.5 points, honestly. Like that could pretty easily just like the Dolphins run away with it and they sort of coast. Weirdly enough, I might just like bet the minus 900 money line on the Dolphins if I had to bet something and win way less, right? Bet $90 and win 10 or whatever. But that worked out for me last week with the Dolphins. I bet 55 and 110. And I'm happy with it, right? Like I think that a lot of people don't like betting those minus money lines, but on games like this, not a bad idea, honestly.
Especially in this exercise where we're making sure we just put in something for every game. This is probably one that's actually pretty hard to bet. To win by 14 points is no easy task, no matter who you play. Game script can always crumble. That would be probably what I would pick second after the money line, because that's where I'm going.
Yeah, I would take. Yep. Yeah.
Dolphins money line. The points here is just a trap, kind of no matter how you look at it. Because I can imagine a scenario where the Dolphins put up 45 points and it still hits the under, and that would piss me off betting the over. So, because I mean, the Panthers might put up a field goal.
It's a 48.5. So for the audio listeners, the over under on the points is 48.5. In case he's just saying that the Dolphins could put up 45 and the Panthers could go scoreless, and you would still hit the under. Yeah, or have one field goal and you'd still have the under on points. Yeah, I don't love 48.5 for some reason either. The same reason I don't love 14, because like they could get up by 10, 12, whatever, and they could just kind of be coasting, and then the points don't come. And I don't really expect the Panthers to contribute much to that points over under. So basically it's like
first week without Devon Achane. So, I mean, that's been the guy who's been doing a lot of the work.
Let me put it this way. Do you think the Dolphins will score 48.5 points? If not, maybe just don't bet the over on points. And if you think they will score 48.5 points, maybe just bet the Dolphins on the spread, because there's no way the Panthers are going to put up like 34, you know?
No. Yeah, that I agree with that. The Panthers have been sneaky okay at just putting up some points, but yeah, the points just scare me. Not 34.
Here, so
money line is the safe bet. Dolphins winning this game. Everybody agrees with that.
Right. Yeah. So you're going to bet a lot to win a little, but if you got to bet this game, that's probably where. And I honestly might do that. I might add that to my portfolio as a third or as a fourth bet to, bet, I don't know, $30 or something and win a little bit of money. Just because it's one of my higher confidence ones. Next up, we got Lions 3-point favorites over the Bucks. What do you think here, Casey?
Interesting. This one's not, I don't want to say it's tough, but these are two teams that I've been relatively high on.
No, this one is tough. I agree with that statement, actually.
These are both teams that have been like darlings to me all year, that I've been higher than most people on. A lot of people wanted to cut and run from the Bucks.
Many people,
as many people thought the Lions would be like top 3 in the NFC, like they have been.
Many people are caught up with you on the Lions at this point.
Right, yeah. Definitely. And even the Bucks. The Bucks have a good record for the most part. So, and they're in a bad division and all that, but whatever. To move things along here, to cut straight to the point, I think I'm still riding with the Lions against to beat the spread here. So.
Yeah, if I got to bet this one, and this one is actually one I don't mind betting. I might add this to the portfolio with a little bit of money. It's not one of the ones I have listed, but you maybe could add it to the portfolio with a little bit of money. I like the Lions and I like 3 points. I do think the Lions are pretty good, and I think the Bucks are maybe above average, but not like, I think the Lions are pretty good, this year. So I think Lions on the spread. I think they're a better team than the Bucks by more than 3 points. Let me put it that way.
I think that also, just for like this one, I will put an asterisk on, just because I'm going to put another bet on this one that I think is like, maybe I wouldn't bet it, but I think I want to notate it, like 44 for the points line. I think the over is pretty likely here. These teams put up points on offense, and it's again, one of those teams, or two of those teams, that can kind of disappear on defense. And I could just see this kind of turning into a shootout in the fourth quarter a little bit,
Yeah.
kind of like scoring drive. So I think the points could really pile up at the end of the game.
Yep. All right. Next up, we got Jags 4-point favorites over the Colts. I'll go first on this one unless you want to. And
go ahead. Yeah.
Jags.
No, I'd love to see what you are thinking.
4 points is just this weird trap. If it were 3.5, I might like it. Or if it were 2.5, I'd really, 2.5, I would really like it. 4 is like, oh gosh, dang it. Like, I don't know, something about it I don't like. Let me rephrase. 3.5, no. 2.5, yes. And even if it were 3, where I would just like, wash it at a field goal win, I would probably like the Jags over the Colts here. A lot of people would say, hey, Colts starting quarterback out, like go ahead and play him. But Colts have Jonathan Taylor back, and also Gardner Minshew is like maybe the best backup you could have. You know what I mean? Like he's just a great backup quarterback. So this one is a tough one. If I have to bet this one, I'm going to go Jags on the spread, not Colts on the spread.
I thought you were going the other way on that one based off what you were saying there.
Jags, yeah. I mean, they're coming off of a Bills win. I get that they were in London an extra week, and the Bills, I did travel and all that, but I've thought the Jags are pretty good all season. They've disappointed sometimes and they've shown up sometimes. I think they're a better team than the Colts. So yeah, let's go Jags.
I don't know.
4 points. I don't love 4 points. I probably wouldn't bet it because of the 4 points, but if I have to bet it, I'm going Jags.
The Jags, the Trevor Lawrence situations kind of looked similar to the Joe Burrow thing. It looks like he's kind of getting it back together. The team is kind of figuring it out for the most part, even in, games that are close. It feels like the offense is figuring it out to me. And I don't know, maybe I'm thinking about this too much, but I know that heading to London is specifically like tough. Same thing that like West Coast teams have to deal with when they go to the East Coast. You lose time going that way. I think then the opposite must be sort of true, right? Coming back from London must kind of feel like
I like
better than the opposite.
I like
and they played well.
I like your
London,
logic. So. Yeah, I like your logic. All right, so I'll
take this one first, John. I'll jump back ahead because I think you've gone first on a few.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is another team I've been higher on than most, and the season-long view I really liked for them, but they've kind of kicked it into hyperdrive here recently, quicker than I expected.
I would say you're higher than most on both these teams, yeah, or maybe you're just higher than me on them.
I think I was pretty average on the Saints. But the Texans, man, the Texans are becoming a real squad out there that, I mean, I didn't really think I'd be saying they might end up with a decent record, but CJ Stroud's doing his thing. D'Amico Ryans, the defense isn't all there. They have some work to do to the roster next offseason, but D'Amico Ryans is a defensive-minded guy. That's going to really start mattering, I think, down the stretch here as he accumulates some experience as a head coach. And man, I like the Texans. I think that they're sneaky, like in the mix for the playoffs. Call me crazy, but that's how I feel about it. So I'm going Texans here. Give me the points too. I'll take the points just because why not? I missed last week on them by half a point. But it was a 1.5 point line there too. And they lost by 2. I don't think they'll do that to me 2 weeks in a row though.
Saints looked much better last week than they did the week where Derek Carr couldn't throw.
Sure. That makes it tough sometimes when you're
right. Well, and I mean, when I say they look good, it's like they beat the Patriots 34-0. And I get that it's the Patriots and they're kind of like look like they're sucking right now, but 34-0 against any team is just that's not, that's good.
I know we got time to keep here, John, but could we maybe see Bill Belichick get fired?
This is maybe a conversation for Triple Cross. This is the murmurings. So I've heard 2 murmurings this year. One, I've heard like the blasphemous, like maybe Mike Tomlin isn't the guy from the Steelers fans. And then I've also heard like maybe Bill Belichick isn't the guy from the Patriots fans. And that's crazy. It's crazy talk, but neither here nor there, for this show. We'll hit that on Triple Cross, our other podcast. But I do like the Texans here as well. And I like, I like that they get that 1.5 points, little insurance, but I kind of just like them to win, honestly. Like if the money line wasn't 105, the money line's 105. So it's like, okay, it's why bet the money line? Just take that 1.5 points instead. But if the money line was something like 120 or something like that, I might go ahead and bet the money line on this,
You keep deking me out with the things you say, and then you kind of flip to the other side. I like it, keeping me on my toes.
Yeah, I know. I'm good at juking, verbal juking.
Yeah, you're a wordsmith.
Pats Raiders. I'll read it out, then you go first. Pats Raiders. Raiders are 3-point favorites over the Patriots. Speaking of Bill Belichick, has suffered his worst losses of his career 2 weeks in a row now. Raiders just coming off a win against the Packers. They're working on a short week, but 3-point favorites over the Pats. Money line is plus 143 for the Patriots, minus 170 for the Raiders. Over under on this is 41.5 points. Casey, what do you like here?
I'm glad that I made 2 changes, not just one change this week, where if we're betting every game, I'm glad we added in the over-under to bet on, because all these gross games where I don't know who will win and I don't believe in
I don't want to touch this.
Taking the under, because if Bill Belichick, guy is coaching for his job. The murmurings, they're there.
Dude, that said, I almost wonder how much Bill Belichick even cares. Like, I think he honestly might just be like, screw you guys then. He's like, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, and if you don't like it, fire me. I don't care.
Neither team looking great. This is another one where, like, if you do the math, the winning team only has 21 points. That means we'll hit the under, and that feels like 21 points might be a dream for either one of these teams. I don't know how many the Raiders put up last week, but
they did put up more. The Raiders, they beat the Vikings.
Yeah, against the Vikings, though. You know what I mean?
Not the Vikings, not the Vikings, the Packers. And they might have put up. It might have been 2010. So
if Bill Belichick gets anything together, it's the defense.
No, it wasn't. Sorry, it was 17-13. So yeah, they only put up 17 points to beat the Packers. I like the under here as well. I haven't seen the Pats really score that many points. Even the games that they've had that are close, they're in the teens. So, and we haven't seen the Raiders bust off more than 30 points this year. So yeah, I like the under on points here.
We haven't notated all of them, but this feels more like one that maybe would be a real bet for me. This feels pretty nice to me, the under here. So.
Yeah, I don't bet a lot of over unders, but if I were gonna bet one, this does feel okay. Yeah. All right. So next up, we got Cardinals at Rams. Rams are 7-point favorites. Money line is plus 270 for the Cardinals, minus 345 for the Rams. Rams with Cooper Kupp back, Puka and Cooper. Cooper. Yes, I said both of them.
I think you said Kupp and Cooper.
Yeah. I said Puka and Cooper, both healthy, both running. Matt Stafford running. Aaron Donald running. So Austin Eckler looks like he could be back. So we could see a fully healthy Rams team, and a Rams team that actually has not looked that bad. Their losses are good losses, tough losses against good teams where they kept it close. Their wins are good wins. What do you, but the Cardinals, the tanking team, doesn't seem like they're actually tanking. So 7 points. What do you think here? This is an interdivisional matchup, those are always, they're built for each other. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. Just to clarify, Austin Eckler still on the other LA team, the Chargers. But For this,
sorry about it.
Hey, you're running the show. There's a lot to think about. I've been there. I want to shoot you that bail.
Yeah.
People don't understand. That's how it goes sometimes. You're just flying through matches.
I'm just trying to put all of the best LA players in one team. Honestly, I'm like, can we get Austin Eckler and Cooper Kupp on the same team, please?
Yeah. And I don't think they would need a guy like Eckler in this one. Honestly, I think that Matty Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Puka Nacua are plenty to get the job done. Tutu Atwell, just, they got rid of Van Jefferson, by the way. That was a trade. We didn't mention that in the news. It's not super highlighty kind of trade. It's kind of a depth receiver. I can't remember where he got sent, Van Jefferson, that is, but he's no longer on the team. I think that actually is good for the wide receiver core here. Cooper Kupp is feeling healthy, and they've established their roles, the top 3 receivers on this team, and they run 3 wide receiver set about as much as anybody. This is an interdivisional matchup, but the Cards are such a new look Cardinals. I don't think that means a lot for them. New head coach, new quarterback, new everything, basically. So give me the Rams here at home, especially. I like that, and I'll bet it against the spread.
I like the 7 points too. Yeah. So give me the Rams as well. I like the 7 points as well. If it was 7.5, I would like it less. I like getting washed out at a touchdown. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So if they win by a touchdown, I get my money back. If they win by more than a touchdown, I win. I don't see a lot of the Rams. I think are going to win. I think they're the better team. I don't see a lot, maybe the Cards play it close and it's a tight game, but unless it's a tight game, I don't see a game script where the Rams sort of coast to a victory of under 7 points. So I do like 7 points there on the spread and the Rams.
I'll jump in on this one too, John. I feel okay about this one.
Yep. Same thing.
Honestly, I don't know that I need to switch up anything I just said. Copy and paste everything I just said about the Rams, other than the in division rivalry. I think the Eagles got this one by a touchdown at least. If you watched the Eagles game last week, all that the commentators, I felt like they talked about was the brotherly shove, the play they run on third.
I mean,
and 1,
it is pretty
1.
automatic.
It is.
I think they even
And,
ran it for 2. I think they even ran it for 2 yards at one point.
They're doing some pretty clumsy foreshadowing. I mean, obviously the commentators of the game, they work for the NFL or they work with the NFL. I don't know the exact hierarchy of the media companies, but they're clued into what the NFL is going to do, and they can't mention that play without mentioning that the competition committee is going to take a real hard look at it next year, which I think just means for sure they're going to make some rules around it, some kind of like formation rules where you can't just pile everybody up in the middle. So that'll happen next year, but for this year, it's still automatic. And when you can just convert all the way down the field on first
You can
downs,
convert all those 1-yarders. That's something.
it's just, especially against a team like the Jets, who sure maybe they've looked a little bit better, but they're nowhere near the same caliber as the Eagles.
The thing is,
this
the Eagles,
easy for me.
The Eagles go for it on every 4th and 1 because they're going to convert it, and that's huge, right? Like they're not punting on 4th downs, and like they went for it on a 4th and 2 and they got it.
4th and 3, they'll go for it because they're getting 2-3 easy on those,
Yeah. So yeah, no, I like the Eagles, and I'm glad that they're giving me 7 points here. I don't know why. Maybe because it's in MetLife, and the Jets played the Chiefs pretty well in MetLife, and the Eagles have looked a little ugly. Like they've had some ugly wins against the Commanders and against the Vikings and stuff like that. I still like that it's a touchdown. You know what I mean? Because I don't see a game script where they coast to a win for less than 7 points, and I like them to win by a touchdown or more against the Jets. So yeah, give me the Eagles.
You mentioned
and
the
that,
Chiefs.
That
here.
one is on my list. That one actually is on my list of bets that I'm making.
You mentioned the Chiefs, how the Jets played them tough in MetLife before, and Daps mentioned it earlier that the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. Hot take, but I don't really think that's true anymore. We were contemplating.
I don't think it's that hot.
Our power rank. Yeah, sure. Lukewarm. Yeah, I think especially with Travis Kelce kind of being questionably healthy, they don't look that dominant. They're still very good. Don't get me wrong. Top 5 team, easy. Top 3 team, probably pretty easy. But teams like the Eagles, the 49ers, if never mind. This isn't about the Chiefs, but I think the Eagles, what I'm saying is they're in the upper echelon of teams. The Jets, nowhere close really. And I don't care how they looked against other teams, if I'm being that honest.
All right, next up, we got Giants at Bills. Bills are 14-point favorites over the Giants. Wasn't Danny Dimes questionable? I didn't see him on our list. I thought he was questionable as well. No. He left the game with a neck injury, but I guess it's okay. I heard that yesterday. So Danny Dimes will be in. I don't think that makes a difference here. Giants, Bills, 14 points. What do you like if you have to touch this game? I hate 14 points personally, but what do you got? What are you doing if you got to touch this game?
Yeah, that is a big downer. I think that this is similar. The Giants offense is too suspect. Saquon is in that, like, I look at him right now, based on what we've seen, as like 50-50 to go. He's one of those top running backs. If he's there, maybe I like the over on the points a little bit more, but without him, I hate anything to do with the points. Again, this is one of those, the Bills could put up 40 and they could still hit the under. I don't like that. I'm similar as your mindset on the spread. So I think I'm just going to take the coward's way out here and go Bills money line.
Bills money line.
If the Giants win this game, I'm going to eat my hat. So
yeah. So I like. So just to read them out: Bills 14 points on the spread. Money line is plus 600 for the Giants, minus 900 for the Bills. So bet 900 to win 100. Meaning, if Casey bet $9 on this, he'd win the Bills won. 45 points is the over under. Same. I feel the same way. It's like, I don't think the Bills are going to put up anything, or the Giants are going to put up anything. Do I think the Bills are going to put up basically 45 points by themselves? No. And then 14 points, like, there's game scripts where they could be coasting to wins and just not win by 14 points. I'm the same place here. I'm going to take the Bills on the money line the same way I did the Dolphins, and both of them are minus 900 money lines. I'm actually less confident in this one than I'm in the Dolphins one, just because we've seen the Bills do some weird crap and lose to some. They've lost, essentially their losses right now are to the Jets and the Jags. The Jags are okay. They're not that bad, but like they'll lose some games they're supposed to win for sure. Hopefully the Giants isn't one of them. So I might stay out of this action, but if I have to bet it, I'm taking that minus 900 money line, basically.
Completely agree.
All right, Cowboys -2 at the Chargers. So Cowboys 2-point favorites at the Chargers. Money line is -110 for the Cowboys, +110 for the Chargers. Over under on this one is 51 points. Casey, what do you like?
Well, the Cowboys coming off of a Sunday night football shellacking from the 49ers here.
Yep.
That defense is going to be looking to get right here in this game against the Chargers.
We're talking about one of the best.
Fortunately, they just aren't good enough to get right here. The Chargers are a good team. If Austin Eckler is playing, which I put him on the positive side of questionable,
probable.
I think he's more likely to play than guys like Saquon. I think he's more in like the Travis Kelce area, where I think both those guys are going to play this week. Maybe he's the difference maker here for me. I don't know. I think I would do it anyway. Maybe it's the Cowboys hate I got in my heart. Sorry, Cowboys fans. But they just look really bad. And I know it was against the Niners, but I'm just not a believer anyway. I think this is actually, that's one of those games you look to get right after that in your next matchup. But I think also like that's so optimistic to assume that they will. I think it also is very disheartening as a ball club to lose that way against a team you really wanted to be really bad. There's a lot of bad blood. I don't think that puts them in high hopes going into the next game. And the Chargers are the Chargers, man. They put up a ton of points, it seems like. And
that's exactly it.
Who knows what happens with
they put up a ton of points and they put them up in the air, and the Cowboys are missing Diggs. Now, there's a good chance Micah Parsons he's able to get a few more hands on Justin Herbert than he was able to get on Brock Purdy. But so that could change things for sure. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about the 30th pass defense in the league since Diggs has left. Weird stat, because what if they had 2 games and one of them's against the Niners, who are very good at passing, but the Chargers are also very good at passing. So looking at the over-under too, the over-under interests me because I do think it's like, man, the Chargers put up 30 some odd points pretty much every time they play. Against a bad pass defense, could they put up close to 40? Yeah. Could the Cowboys maybe put up 10 or 15 or 20 maybe? Yeah, probably. Chargers aren't great on defense.
If you already think that, then isn't the safer bet to bet on the Chargers?
The Chargers on the Spurs. Yeah, that's exactly right. So like the over-under on the points at 51, I think that actually, if I had to guess, I actually think I would take the over there. But I think the better bet out of this whole matchup is the Chargers and the points to beat them -2 point spread. So that's
you want one of these little asterisk guys.
Oh, dude, no, we're not doing asterisks. I'm just letting listeners know that, like, hey, if you don't really like the Chargers to win, maybe just bet the over on points. Like if you kind of think the Cowboys will win, bet the over on points, because there's a good chance the Chargers are going to put up 30 something, and if you think the Cowboys are win, they're going to put up 30 something as well.
Well, I did one of those up there on the which game was this? The Lions and Bucks. I put a secondary on the over, but I'll bail you out on that one.
Well,
I won't force the issue.
Let me put it this way, Casey. Game script: the Cowboys winning. What does the score look like?
24-21. Something like that.
So you still have it on the under on points, basically. So
I
think the only way the Cowboys win is if they actually do contain this offense that's been putting up 30 plus points a game.
That feels like the most likely scenario, yeah, to me.
Okay. So I guess in that case, if you think the Cowboys are win, maybe you actually think they'll win by like containing that offense, in which case maybe that 51 point over isn't great for you.
Yeah, and I would add in the contingency. The more I think about it, Austin Eckler makes a huge difference, because the Cowboys, the one thing they do have left is Micah Parsons. He's the best player on that team, especially who's healthy right now. If Austin Eckler's there, that gives Herbert an outlet guy to just toss the ball off to, dump it off, and Eckler's going to get 10 yards on something like that most of the time. He's going to get you good yardage. Without him to kind of boost the running game and that kind of outlet passing game, yeah, maybe the Cowboys do a little bit better job. We could hit the under. We could see the Cowboys win. But with Eckler, who I think is there, like I said, I really like the Chargers.
Well, I get that you like the Chargers. My question, I get that you like the Chargers. My question though is, if you were to script a Cowboys win, even with Eckler, would it look like a lower scoring game?
Yeah, it'd look like the under. It'd look like the under. While I think the Chargers win would look like the over.
Yeah,
similar to you.
I get you. Yep, same. All right. Hey, I think we got one more thing here. NBA is about to be underway. We got preseason games happening. We had Chet Holmgren and Wemby go at it yesterday. Chet kind of got the best of him, to be honest. Chet looked better. So go America, I guess. But let's talk NBA Finals. This is a bet a little, win a lot, take a long shot situation. Looking at teams if you're going to bet right now before the season starts, to teams to win the NBA Finals, let me read the top 6 off here. and let's talk about who we like. So we got the Boston Celtics at plus 380. So bet 100 to win 380. Milwaukee Bucks, same exact odds at plus 380. Denver Nuggets plus 550. Phoenix Suns plus 550. Los Angeles Lakers plus 1300. Golden State Warriors plus 1400. And then let's see if there's any honorable mentions here. No, that's pretty much where it falls off, honestly, because basically you get to a tier of like the Cavs, the Grizzlies, the Mavericks that are like.
Did you think maybe toss out like the Mavericks were kind of buyers last season? You know, Luka kind of an amazing player. Do you think there's anything to the Mavericks at all? Maybe
no, not until they get their defense figured out. You know, like they're so defenseless.
I was just grasping at straws for after the past.
Really, if I'm looking for a value bet down in that like other zone, so let me read out like the teams that are still like that are in that next tier. So the Cleveland Cavaliers at plus 2,400, Memphis Grizzlies at plus 2,400, Los Angeles Clippers at plus 2,700, 76ers at plus 2,700, or Heat at plus 3,000. I think my value bets there are on that second row. So it's either the Clippers, the Sixers, or the Heat. And I kind of like the Heat best out of that group. So plus 3,000 on the Heat. Obviously, there's some recency bias there because they were just in the finals. But I kind of like the Clippers. I've said this before. The Clippers are one of those teams that like, they honestly can beat any team in the league if everybody's healthy and everybody's playing well. And I'm saying
that ever happened,
right? Yeah. So that's why they're plus 2,700, right? So they're like a team that's good enough to win the finals that is just never healthy and all together at the same time. So that's, you know, if you like that as a value bet, that's a line of logic that can, you know, you can bet 100, win $2,700 or whatever. I don't think the Clippers are going to win, but they're that team that, you know, when they're playing their best and literally any other team is also playing their best, the Clippers might be better, right? They're just very good when they're playing their best. Sixers, I mean, they're just, you know, kind of on the brink every year. So I probably like the Heat or Clippers in that tier. But my long bet here really is the Nuggets. The reason I like the Nuggets, obviously defending champs, easy choice, but both the Celtics and the Bucks with their offseason moves have jumped to higher odds and they're plus 380. I think if you can get the Nuggets as underdogs, to me, the offseason moves do not make the Celtics or Bucks better than the Nuggets at this point in time. I'm not bought into the idea that the Bucks are better or the Celtics are better than the Nuggets yet. So, yeah, I like the Nuggets at plus 550. What do you like here?
I don't want to jump on your bandwagon here. Nuggets feel right to me. It feels disrespectful to not have them as the highest odds or the best odds to win here after coming off of a championship. I mean, have they lost anybody significant that I'm not aware of? I mean, they still have Nikola Jokic, still got Jamal Murray, right? I mean, I'm in. Like Nuggets. Yeah. But for the sake of argument, and not to be totally homer in the same region that everybody knows I like in football, but I mean, the Warriors here, I think it actually is not crazy, right? I mean, in addition to CP3, there's a lot of offseason buzz that the team is kind of melding well together. They love playing with him. I know there's been some bad blood historically with some of the guys on the roster in CP3, but obviously put that aside. Maybe a bigger addition to the Warriors squad this year is addition by subtraction in that Jordan Poole is no longer on the team. That's awesome. That's great for everybody.
And they got assets for it. Yeah.
Right. And to net CP3 too, that's a quality starter. You know, he's gonna get a lot of minutes, and they've always liked to play kind of small. So I don't think that, you know, having another like guard on the squad is gonna hurt their odds. I think if anything, it helps it. And they're hungry, right? This is like, it's getting down to the wire. If Steph's gonna win another one, it's gotta be soon.
This is it.
You would think. Maybe not this year as the last year, but like, I mean, it would be nice if it was this year because the odds are declining every year. So I like them as kind of my more long shot, that second tier kind of bet.
Yeah.
But truly, I do like the Nuggets the best. And if I were to toss out another one, I mean, just for funsies, bet on the Bucks maybe in that 2 spot just because of some additions there.
You like a Dame Giannis combo. I don't hate it. Honestly, I might become a Bucks fan this year, kind of, you know, but
would be my biggest advice is like, sorry to take the stage there, but
go ahead. Yeah.
If you're betting on something season long, you know, to win the championship, you know, that's a long time out right now. Right. And no matter who your team is, I think this is one of those bets where it's easier to justify being a homer because you're going to be rooting for this bet all year long. And is there any team you'd rather root for all year long than like your favorite team? And, you know, the odds are already baked in. So bet responsibly, obviously. But if you're a fan
Yeah.
of somebody like the Warriors, I'd say, hey, these are great odds to bet on the Warriors to win, because who's going to say they can't win?
Yeah.
Nobody.
So here's another interesting thought that I just had while we were looking through this is so there's definitely some teams that I think are overvalued a little bit right now. And that specifically is the Phoenix Suns at plus 550, which is the same thing as the Nuggets are. I don't think the addition of Beal makes them, puts them on the same level as the Nuggets. I think the Los Angeles Lakers at plus 1300. Yeah, I get it. They made it to the Western Conference Finals. We've been over this a lot of times before on our other podcast, Triple Cross. You can get to a conference finals. Like you can get just like a good path to a conference finals. Getting through the conference is a whole other story. Like all paths lead through the Nuggets, and they like the Nuggets just freaking trounced them in 5 games. So I don't think the Lakers are actually that good. I don't think that their offseason moves to kind of re-sign everybody and run it back were great. So an interesting thought exercise here is if I were to take a portfolio approach to this, I would put some money on the Celtics. I'd put some money on the Bucks. And like, if I were to say, I'm going to put even money on everybody and hope that one of these bets pays off, I would maybe put it on the Celtics, the Bucks, the Nuggets. I would not put it on the Suns. I would not put it on the Lakers. I might put a little on the Warriors. That one's questionable to me, but Warriors, yeah, I'd probably leave them in there. Grizzlies, I'd probably leave them in there, and then Heat. So I would do those 6, and then I would skip everyone else, because then after that, we're getting into the Pelicans and the Knicks and the Kings and the ones that just, unless something crazy happens. The Pelicans are that team that, like, maybe if Zion's healthy all year, maybe I put a little money there, but I just don't see that as highly likely. So yeah, that's where I would go. Pelicans are about my line. After that, I would not put any money on anyone, and I would have skipped and not put any money on the Sixers, Clippers, Mavericks, Cavs, Lakers, or Suns.
Yeah, I mean, if you were thinking about the Pelicans, I mean, I'd still stick to my Mavericks stance before that, probably, if I was going for
Really?
a long shot. Yeah,
I don't
know.
know.
I don't believe in it. I don't really believe in
Yeah.
it. It's just if I was taking a shot, and I know that's odds.
Yeah,
on
really,
in these
my idea with the portfolio is to say if I put a little money on every team I think might win, that's what it would look like.
Sure,
you know,
sure,
and then one of those does it, and it pays my whole bet back, I guess, is the approach there.
I really like the top 4 you said, Celtics, Bucks, Nuggets, Warriors. Those would be my favorite 4 to win it all.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Maybe not in no particular order. Let's say.
I think the Heat are a very good value at plus 3,000. Like that's the main thing I think about them at, like, hey, plus 3,000 seems a little low for them. They seem pretty undervalued there. And that's kind of the main thing with them. All right. Yeah. And Grizzlies actually at plus 2,400. I'm 6s on them. I don't think they're undervalued or overvalued. I think they're valued. That's the show. I think Overtime Operators. We'll get more basketball stuff coming, I guess, as the season starts, and do a little more basketball betting and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the show. Overtime Operators show, where we teach you how to make money in sports. If you listen on audio, then please subscribe to the podcast so you get updated when we have new episodes. Please review, give us 5 stars, and review and rate and give us 5 stars. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notified when we launch new videos. We're going to try and do that timely in the week, every week, so that you have all the betting lines and all of our betting advice, all of our fantasy advice going into the weekend. Obviously not financial advice, but we do pretty well, I suppose. I'm John. Daps was here earlier. That's Casey. Sorry.
I mean, I thought we
you want to say it again? I'm John. I'm
Casey.
That's Overtime Operators.